Georgia Highlands College has got you covered. With more in-person, remote, and hybrid class options than ever before, you can take classes the way you want from virtually anywhere. Now's your chance to take charge at GHC. Apply now at highlands.edu.
Welcome to Community Watch, and today we're talking about the Rome-Floyd County walking trails. Stay with us. Community Watch starts now.
And welcome to Community Watch. Greg, how are
Brother,
you?
how you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. And we have a show today that I know you and I were both very interested in, and that is about the trail system that we have both used in and around Rome. And I don't know about you, but I had not been keeping up with the growth of this trail system, and still today I'm not totally aware of where all of the trails are. You know, you may, as usual, you may know more about it than me.
Oh no, don't even go there. I'm very familiar with the trail at Ridge Ferry, but I know sometimes I start like at the town green. And I know from the town green, I can walk from the town green all the way to the Brave Stadiums and back. I know that's close to 5 miles, but that's about it. I'm not really familiar with the other trails, actually.
Well, lucky for both of us, we will find out today because our guest is Julie Smith, who is the Executive Director of TRED. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So you're going to have to help us with the name first, the acronym. What does that stand for?
It stands for Trails for Recreation and Economic Development. So Trails for Recreation and Economic Development, TRED.
And I know that someone we work with, Georgia Highlands, David Mathis, is on your board.
Yes.
Which is one reason we found out about the board. But the story of that board and the history of TRED is something we're less familiar with. So if you could kind of guide us through that.
Yes, absolutely. So in 2012, the Georgia Department of Transportation had a grant. It was a transportation alternatives grant, and they presented it to the county commission. And so it's really no secret at the time the county commission was less friendly regarding trails. And so it was a $450,000 overall grant, an 80-20 match. So GDOT would put in 80%, the county would have to put in 20%. And several members of that commission were less than thrilled to do this. And so at the time, my husband and I owned Cycle Therapy Bike Shop on Broad Street. And so I think the realization happened that, you know, yes, we have these great trails like Ridge Ferry that Greg mentioned, but not, you know, other than the government, nobody is really there pushing for expansion and enhancing and educating people about the benefits of healthy trail systems. And so people kind of got together, and I kind of liken it as our Boston Tea Party. I mean, I know that's a stretch, but and just sort of said, you know what, we need to make this critical connection. This Redmond Trail connection has to happen. And so people got together, and then my husband came home one night. I was at home with our 2 boys who were small at the time, and he said, hey, we've got this new group. We don't know what we're going to be called, but it's going to be sort of like Friends of the Trails, and you're going to be the president. I thought, okay, here we go. So we got together with Jerry Jennings, who was really integral in TRED's formation and really helped us craft our mission statement and really helped us kind of hone in on the things that we thought we wanted to do. And so the board, like you mentioned, David Mathis, he's actually our most recent board member and one that I'm real excited to kind of bring into the fold. So for a long time, up until a year and a half ago, I was actually volunteer president. So it's only been since August of 2020 that I've stepped in as the first executive director of TRED, thanks to Hardy Realty's kind of seed money to make that happen. So I need to give credit to Hardy and to Jimmy Byers for that. But so currently, as it stands, the president is Harry Brock. And then also we have Steve Gunther, Jim Hunter, Mark Webb, Strom Mall, and then, as you mentioned, David Mathis. So we've got a really strong board, and I'm very excited about it. So TRED essentially started, we will have our 10-year anniversary next year. So we're pretty excited about that.
So Julie, so I know what the name means, but exactly what does TRED do?
Thank you, Greg. That's a great question. So really our mission statement, and I won't read it verbatim, but really why TRED exists. And again, you can think of it as kind of like a Friends of the Trails. So we have a very intentional public-private relationship with the county and the city government. I wish I could say that we raised millions and millions of dollars, and maybe one day we will, and maybe a viewer will want to donate money right now, but we need the help of the city and the county to continue the expansion of trails. And so really our mission statement is we are trying to enhance the community's quality of life through an accessible multi-use trail system that enhances and provides alternative and eco-friendly recreation alternatives. So in other words, I mean, there's so many things to unpack right there. So basically, Greg, in a nutshell, what we do is we are constantly thinking about how do we make the trail systems better? How do we expand the trail systems? And how are we promoting the trail systems? Or the trail system that we have, which is the Heritage Riverways Trail Network. Did y'all know that's what the overall multi-use paved trail network was called?
No, what is that again?
I know, it's a lot. I know, right? Heritage Riverways Trail Network.
Wow.
I know, yes.
So well, I know, Doc, you have a lot of questions, so I'm gonna go ahead and get mine in right quick. But how many trails, I guess, do y'all maintain? Because like you said, I know Ridge Ferry, but how many other trail systems are there part of the Heritage Network?
All of the multi-use, all of the paved ones for the most part. So, and again, you bring up a good point, Greg, because under the Heritage Riverways umbrella, you have Ridge Ferry, you have the new one, Mount Berry, you have Kingfisher Trail, you have the Avenue A Levee Trail, you have, you know, kind of the Town Green, and then you have the levee trails going out to the Parks and Rec department. So all of those are maintained by the city. The city maintains those, the city public works. But then TRED also built on city property Jackson Hill mountain bike and hiking trails and GE at Girard Park mountain bike and hiking trails that are in West Rome. But we can talk about that in a little bit. And we, with the help of the city, maintain those.
Well, I know the trail that I'm most familiar with, I believe, is called, it starts with the Kingfisher Trail in the South Rome area. Is that,
Yes.
Is that what it's called? Because I can
Yes.
walk from my door in South Rome, I can walk all the way to the stadium.
Right.
And back, and have done that a couple of times.
Right.
When I had like a lot of time. But,
yeah, that's a good distance. That's a long way.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Yes.
But I just thought that was so great. And then, because in the section there, as you get close to the stadium, you're walking along the Oostenala. I could see on the other side of the river another trail.
Right. Yes, the Mount Berry Trail.
I didn't know what that was. So clearly there's a lot going on that I was not aware of. So the Mount Berry Trail, I know you can get on it behind the post office. But I don't really know where that one goes.
Well, okay, so essentially there's a lot there too. So the Mount Berry Trail actually is partially a little bit, it starts on city property. There's a sewer easement that runs along the west side of the Oostenaula River. And so, but then when you are, then it goes to Berry College property. So it's actually the backside of Oak Hill, and really what Berry people refer to it as is Oak Hill Bottoms, because all of that was fertile farmland, back in the, in the early days of Berry. So that was farmed. In fact, Harry Brock's dad in the early 1950s was a student at Berry and remembers farming. He was a student worker and farmed that land. So it's sort of funny to have it come back around. But essentially, currently that trail is 1.8 miles and it stops at Big Dry Creek. And so if you're standing there and you're looking across Big Dry Creek, sort of through the woods, you can see the Rome Braves Stadium. So eventually that will continue. And so visualize, and we can put a map up so everybody can kind of get an idea, because I know our trails are sort of hard to visualize with all the rivers. But eventually the Mount Berry Trail will continue and it will come out on the west side of the Armurchie Bypass Bridge. So the bridge that is right by the back parking lot where the RV parking is, the RV parking for the stadium, that's where that trail will come out. So essentially, that'll be a loop. And what we don't have is a loop, right? Our trails are sort of, I refer to them like fingers, right? We don't have a perimeter or a belt line, if you will. It's like you're following the three rivers. And so we understand that. But to be able to essentially start at the post office, behind the post office, continue up, and then be able to get at the north side of State Mutual or Ridge Ferry, and then go on down to downtown will be awesome.
For some clarity, because I don't know all the names of any of the names, but Kingfisher, what does that actually start at?
So Kingfisher, if you are going across the South Broad Bridge and Myrtle Hill is up here, and you kind of take a little loop and you're going back under the South Broad Bridge. So Kingfisher starts there, but you could also get on Kingfisher across from the health department from off East 12th.
Okay, I didn't know that.
You have to cross East 12th, but are you kind of with me? The railroad tracks and health
department. I know where
we're at.
I know where we at, but I didn't know that was a trail system, part of the trail system.
Yes.
So the ultimate goal, or one of them, is to create a connection between the trails so that there's a loop.
Yes, that is, and in fact, getting back to why TRED formed is that was the whole point of the Redmond Trail connection. So essentially, the Redmond Trail connection was dreamt up even before Mount Berry, but so the second part of Mount Berry, yes, will be a connection. You're right, John. And then the Redmond Trail, which, let me reiterate, 9 years ago, right, is when TRED formed for this, that federally funded project, because the money was coming from the Federal Highway Administration down through state money to GDOT. That project is just now under construction 9 years later.
Okay.
Because it's federally funded. So the Redmond Trail connection will connect what we know now as Mount Berry Trail to the end of the Avenue A levee trail. O'Charlie's, that's going to be Buffalo Wild Wing. That trail runs parallel to Avenue A. And then there's that water pumping station at the end. And then it will continue there and hook up to Mount Berry.
Well, we need to take a break here. So let's do that. And then when we get back, we will have more discussion about TRED. So stay with us. Don't go away.
I know you've had your moments of doubt and struggle, And I'm here to say I'm proud of you.
And although each one of us may take a different path, may we look back upon today as the moment we stepped into a larger world, a greater world.
You will pass this way but once. Do it right.
If ever there was a time to follow your passion and do something that matters to you, now is certainly that time.
And welcome back to Community Watch. We are having a conversation with Julie Smith, who is the Executive Director of TRED, which stands for Trails for Recreation and Economic Development. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's perfect. Yes, sir.
Okay. And Julie, to this point, we've been talking kind of about existing trails and at least one aspect of what the hope is for the future. Because I mean, the recreation part of TRED is clear to me, but the economic development is not as clear to me. So,
Right.
How does that fit into this project?
Well, that's a great point, Dr. Hershey, because we really can't even talk about the economic development piece just yet. The Silver Comet Trail is a 90-mile trail that starts in Polk County and goes through Paulding and Cobb County. And 10 years ago, I worked on an economic impact assessment of that trail. That's a multi-use paved rail trail. And you can cite economic development because we know that people using that trail stop in Rockmart or Cedartown or Dallas or wherever, and they get drinks, or maybe they need things for their trip. And so you can totally pinpoint that economic piece. But we have a harder time doing that because the ultimate goal is to have people on the trail system go to downtown, right? That's our city center. So that's what we're currently working with. And then in the bigger picture, we are talking regional trail connectivity. So Chattanooga wants to connect to the Silver Comet Trail. So they want to come down, and obviously we want them to come through Rome and Floyd County, right? Use our trail system, and then maybe hook up in Cave Spring and then connect to the Silver Comet Trail. So that would be a huge economic development piece, right? So just like the Beltline in Atlanta, it's so dense that you barely can find a space to walk or ride your bike, but there's so many people on the Beltline. Right now, we can't talk about density or, the money part of it. And so hopefully once more trails are built and we can have more foot traffic on the trails, we can kind of make that connection. We know 10 years ago that people were spending $50 on average on their trips along the Silver Comet Trail. I'm sure now it's more. But that really makes an impact on those small mom and pop businesses along the trail, especially if you're catering to trail users. So we need to really, we've been working with the city and the county. How do we make that happen? So that's a great part. That's a great question.
Julie, actually, I've wondered about that several times. I've gone walking and I didn't bring any water or anything. And, you're thinking like, wow, it would be nice if there were certain places along the trail where you could purchase water, Gatorade, Powerade, things of that nature. And the only one I know right now, I think it's at Ridge Fair. I think they have a couple of machines. But other than that, because, I know when I walk from the levee to the stadium and back, because I've had walked 10 miles some days. And, some days like you need water, you need something. And it's really nothing along the trail system where you could actually just stop and purchase water or anything of that nature.
No, and you're right. And actually, I've been talking to Rome Public Works about potentially putting in a water hydration station. So in essence, it looks like a water fountain, but it's actually a water bottle filling station. Like they have in schools now. You can fill your water bottle, and so that would be ideal. So yes, and that, Greg, that exactly gets back to another part of why we exist, is those small enhancements that can make the trail user experience so much better. In fact, Chris Jenkins, Director of Public Works for Rome, he used to run triathlons, and he'll talk about how he used to have to drive before and set out his water bottles along the trail. And when you're training for, marathon distances, yes, you've got to have water. And so he's, probably the number one fan of, yes, we need more hydration stations and water bottle filling stations. So, yes, I would definitely welcome people. If you see things that you think would be great along the trails, reach out to me and then we can try to make that happen. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Well, Greg, I know during the summer when I was walking to the stadium, it was one of those intensely hot days, and I just had to have water. And I was able to, fortunately, walk up to the coffee shop there by the stadium and get some water. Because there is a trail that goes, well, close to it, not
Right.
directly, but close to it. So that was a great relief to me that day. But I can see how more opportunities like that, convenient to the trails, would make a big difference. So as the trail system as it grows, how do you get the land for new trails?
Well, that's a great question. So, Mount Berry Trail. So that kind of gets back to the funding piece of it, right? Because for instance, the Mount Berry Trail in 2013, we had only been in existence a year. The city of Rome came to us and said, can you co-author a new trail project on the SPLOST? So remember, we had a 2013 SPLOST, special purpose local option sales tax. And so that's where Mount Berry came from. And so TRED and the city of Rome partnered with that. And luckily that passed barely. And so again, that was a city of Rome sewer easement for part of it. And then, like I mentioned before, it goes on Berry property. And so we had to ask city of Rome, Sammy Rich and his counterparts had to ask Dr. Briggs and Berry and their board of trustees if they would be willing for the trail. So we really have, easement. We have a trail easement for that property. 2017 SPLOST, Floyd County asked us if we would, again, co-author a trail project. And so this next trail project that we've been working on is actually the Lindell Trail. So it will essentially start where Kingfisher ends, sort of by the health department, by those railroad tracks. And it will follow abandoned Norfolk Southern Railroad tracks into downtown Lindale. And if you've been to Lindale lately, they have a train viewing station right downtown. And so that's roughly 3.5 miles. And so that property will be an acquisition. So the county will, with SPLOST funding, will have to purchase that abandoned Norfolk Southern Rail. And so that's currently what the county's in the process of doing. And so if you've ever worked with the railroad, they don't make it easy to do anything. And so we have to have 2 appraisals and then need to go through the land acquisition. So to answer your question, it's sort of a hodgepodge of different funding sources and also how you get the property.
Okay. And you said earlier that the TRED board maintains the trails?
The city of Rome maintains the trails. Yes, so they do the cleanup. You remember how when it rains, we have a heavy rain, and kind of right behind Shane's Rib Shack, that piece always washes away and gets muddy. They bring the scrapers out, so they do the maintenance on the trails currently.
Julie, do you have? Oh, go ahead, Doc.
No, go.
Do you have any idea how many pedestrian or how much foot traffic in a year uses the trail system?
That is a great question, Greg. That's something that we're looking into now. I would love to get some, and I'm working on some grants for this, some trail counters. So automated, and I don't understand the technology so much, but it basically would do a count of how many users are using the trail. When I did the Silver Comet impact assessment 10 years ago, we literally sat on the side of the Silver Comet Trail and counted people at certain times of the month, and then extrapolated all that data. But no. So in order for us to, figure out economic impact, the amenities that people want, then it's critical. I think our next step is to exactly figure out how many people are using our trails. So that's my goal for next year, for 2022, is to have that in place.
Because I know certain times of the year come across and a lot of people on the trails, especially at Ridge Fair. I'm quite sure the other ones as well.
Right.
I was just wondering, because that kind of would tell you the demand and how much use. And I would think would give the city and the county even more, would emphasize, that people are using this as a quality of life. Because I know throughout my travels, when I was walking a lot, having a very well-defined, clean trail system is just something very pleasing about that. And I appreciate that Rome does have such a great system. But I'm not always sure, like Doc, you were saying earlier, that even the most Romans realize how advanced how extensive the trail system is.
Well, and that also gets into another thing that we're working with the Convention and Visitors Bureau is signage. I think right now, we know that signage is a little bit lacking. It's called wayfinding. And so maybe people don't know, if you're a visitor, even if you're a resident, Greg, maybe you wouldn't even know if you're at Ridge Ferry, that if you just keep going south, then you'll end up downtown, right? And so we have not done a very great job of, giving people those cues, right? Of saying, if you go here, then this is this, and saying you're currently on this trail or you're on this trail, get over here. So that's another initiative that we're working with the city on that. So I totally agree with you.
Also, I noticed walking, I know like at Ridge Ferry toward the bridge, as getting close to the stadium, y'all have trees and benches. So how are those things donated or part of TRED?
Well, that's a great thing. That's actually, a lot of people don't even know about that. That's through the city of Rome. That's the Arboretum. And so people can pay $250 and purchase a tree that's a native tree. And then the Rome arborist plants the tree, and then you have a plaque that you could say in honor or in memory of. And so that's another feature that we have on the trail that not a lot of people know about. So that's really, again, through the city of Rome. That's less a TRED thing, but I am trying to get the word out about that.
Well, I know you don't have official numbers for folks that are using the trails, but do you have just kind of a sense of how people in the community are responding to those trails?
Yes, I mean, I think number one, I think a lot of people take them for granted, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but I think that when you visit other communities that doesn't have a healthy trail system, and then come back to Rome, I think that's when you go, oh, we really do have it good, right? Like Chattanooga, they have a lot of trail systems, and Chattanooga has a lot going on, but I think in terms of being able to walk, we have a great walkability, so we could use the trails, and trails really are transportation for a lot of people that don't have cars, so we didn't really talk about that, but that's something to think about. Trails also are transportation versus recreation. But yes, quickly, I know that people love the trails, and I know that people love the trails at Jackson Hill and the GE trails that we've put in as well.
Well, we are about out of time here, but I want to thank you for being with us and for the work that you're doing, you and your board. And as the trail system develops, maybe you can come back and talk to us again about what's going on there. So
yes, I would love to. Thank you.
Thanks again, and thank all of you out there for watching us this week. We'll see you next time on Community Watch. Bye now.